I'd like to call our committee of the whole, acknowledging that this meeting is held in the agenda. Delegation. Has the power.
Just cover seat, Dave. No thumbs. Can you hear me? Check.
Just allow his mic. Can you hear me now? Hear me now?
I can barely hear.
Oh, there we go. We can hear you.
Can you hear us a bit?
Like a little bit.
Ah,
Is your
I can hear-
volume?
I can hear John.
oh, good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear Fred.
I'm right beside the receiver, so I don't know if that
I think
makes
it's
a
the
difference.
The
Apple.
receiver's right there.
Oh,
Yeah, loud
right.
and clear, nice.
Okay.
I
There we
couldn't
go,
hear
sound.
Pat earlier at all, zero.
Okay, what can I say? Usually my voice varies.
I can now, though. I can now.
Good, good, okay. Thanks for catching
Thank
that,
you. Thank you.
Russ. So welcome, Dave and Paul for coming and, presenting this, proposal. And I'm wondering if you could just explain to everybody why you're doing this.
Well, a friend of ours died and he left some money for the betterment of Beaver Harbor Park. And we've come up with some ideas and how to make it better on there.
Awesome, thank you.
And Paul has drawn up a lot of stuff. I think you probably are all seen this.
We have.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's right behind it.
And it's also on the screen so everybody can see it.
Yes.
There you go. So I'm assuming you want me to go forward.
Sure.
Just tell me next and we'll be good to go.
Okay, so we want everyone an overview, a
Yes.
little bit up. So yeah, Dave approached us last year, maybe even a year and 2 years ago. We looked at a few different ideas out there. We talked to some different people to figure out a spot or a location to maybe do something. So we put together an area beside the curling rink, which used to be the Kinsman building.
No,
or Lions.
That, it was on the other side.
Oh, it was, okay, sorry, yeah. So we picked a spot there, to put in 2 tennis courts, two pickleball and 1 half court basketball. So we just sort of got a topography of the area, topo. What the unit would look like. It's not really perfect yet because there is dividing fences between the tennis courts and things like that, but to give us an idea, this was the mimic program I could use for sizing. Go ahead. So this is the to scale, would be the area we're proposing for it to go. And then, of course, we're trying to get a few more fences and possible volleyball courts or nets put in the grass field as well. But I guess that'll have to be decided at a later date.
Also, we're looking to put some more, tables along the front. And maybe some benches, you know. And down, I don't know what the name of that road is. What is it?
Carlton?
Carl, right at the end of that, we'd like to, put a carving up there. I've talked to Clint Blaine and he's willing to do it. And we can put it right down there, a two-sided, something with a salmon and a crab and whatever stuff that Roger liked to do.
And he would just up the street.
Yeah, that's right. He used to drag his wood up there first. Right up the street. He did.
Definitely had a permit from the district.
Everything was good.
Yeah. So we came up with some numbers, reached out to some, contractors in order to be able to do this. So we've sort of just compiled a few numbers. Some of them don't show up very well, but, if you wanna go forward, I think the next one sort of starts to break things down. So it's a lot, but we got a hold of Tomco. They're a little lower mainland. They build these all over the place. And it's just generic sizing is all it is. So we can put these in here. So we can probably scroll through maybe 2 or 3 more slides just to show the build of what they would do. Pickleball. There's a differential here between a concrete base foundation, finish and an asphalt. They will not warranty concrete court because of the moisture that comes out of it and the sealant that's on it. So we went with an asphalt court, which then the surface is a little bit different, for sure. We can go forward. Same nets, the rest of the basketball hoops, goosenecks, things like that. And sort of just to put it all together, I believe here's a sort of a breakdown of the unit. OK paving, Tomco tower fence. We put in electrical. I just used some rough cost estimates on thought process for the 6 lights that would be needed in the area for the different ones. Obviously it would be off of the district's power or light at that time on turnover. So whether it gets done or not, it would be up to the district. Arc study, we used a number that we had as preliminary discussions here. And then we had a miscellaneous benches, Clint Blaney's and a contingency fund for this built in. So this was the cost sort of structure we had within the last 3 months. We finished in compiling this November, December, just before Christmas. I think that's the last slide.
Also with the carving, Clint said they gotta be refurbished every 2 years or 4 years or something. He said he'd come up and do it like 3 or 4 times for nothing.
I don't think I remember
Oh,
that
that'd
one,
be awesome.
Marty.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you've got one.
Councilor Tidbury.
Just a small question. I mean, you probably kind of figured it all out. Why is it, the tennis courts on that side of the, rather than the other
Probably
side?
because of the pickleball, mostly because of the wind.
The wind, that's what I
Yeah.
thought too. I thought, okay, they're using the building as a,
Yeah, it's a windbreak.
yeah,
And we orientated the courts so the sunrise and the sunset,
okay,
and that one person's not looking into the sun.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was something like to do with wind and things like that.
Wind by shielded building.
Yeah.
And sun.
Yeah.
And there's more room there too. There's not that
Yeah.
much room on the other side.
Okay.
Trees and that you gotta deal with, yeah.
Well, we go into the park then.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
going in.
No, you're not.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. What a great use for those funds. Just a couple questions. Were there any concerns from the existing user for Rupert Curling Club? With that positioning?
I didn't
I haven't heard any. I've talked to Mike about it and he's all over it, so I think he's part of the curling club, isn't he? McCullough?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just my.
Yeah, I-
Just check, just to
Yeah.
make sure, and just respect.
mhm.
And then the other question was, say at a future date, there were funds to enclose those courts. Is the suggested position, would it allow for that?
Pardon me?
This suggested position, if at a future date there was funding to enclose the courts?
Well, the court would be fenced. The
I
whole
mean, the
thing.
roof and stuff.
Oh, roof wise? Oh, well, I think that would have to be done as structural at the beginning for geotech. Because if you were gonna build it that way, then you'd have to figure out load bearing for sure.
Okay, so like the concrete structure would have to probably be more spoken, so that's not really a possibility. So
I would think it would, because your outside pedestals for your roof structure would be built outside the court floor structure.
Yeah.
So then at that time, geotechnical could deal with that at that time for sure.
I guess like my question is there spacing, is the spacing away from the existing? current
Yes, because
structure?
there's a fire exit out of the backside of the building, so there's enough of a barrier between the two so that there is a runway lane there. Definitely,
And there would be room to enclose it later.
I would think so for
That
sure.
was a pipe dream that came true.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Never know,
It doesn't
right?
rain, so.
Yeah.
Councilor Robertson?
Yeah, I was actually, thinking on the same lines as Janet. Thank you for this. This is great. There's lots of work into the presentations, into the document, so that's good. Yeah, just a few things, whether it would be possible to engineer in, and I don't know whether it's foundation, but some possibility at a later date to put in a cover, to cover it. And it's not like walls and heating and things like that. I'm thinking more of a generic dome that cover, that keep the rain up, not the wind.
Like tin structure.
Yeah, tin or, yeah, I guess I'm not sure what those ones that you see that are
A dome,
a dome.
but then you'd have uplift because of the wind structure out there, so.
Well, it could
you're
fly. It
creating
could
a-
fly. It could
creating-
fly.
Yes, I get you.
Uh,
I would think then you would have to look at safety for runoff, falling for ice, snow loads.
mhm.
You'd have to probably take into where the doors were, overhangs, these things like that.
I wasn't actually even thinking doors, but anyway.
Yeah, well, we've got doors coming in and out of the chain link fence now to
Yeah.
get in and next, so.
Yeah, anyway, it's just a thought about,
Yeah.
because I know Rotary often looks for stuff.
Oh, good.
One thing, a couple other things. One, I know we talked, when it first came up about the basketball court. I know there's a basketball court in the Fort Rupert, schoolyard. Same idea. So I was just wondering if there's any thoughts and just thinking, and I don't wanna sort of upset, about if there's anything else that would fit into that space. And the only thing I could come up with is something like horseshoes or something like that, but again.
That's a big liability, isn't it?
Pardon me?
It's a big liability, horseshoes, unless you
Oh,
have,
yeah,
you
apparently I'm
put the
getting.
pigs in and take them out every time you do something.
Yeah, okay, so scratch that, but anyway,
But there's room out there for that.
yeah, no, I'm just thinking if there's any space for anything else that required that surface, and I can't think of any, but, it's fine, and I know it will be used, and, so. The other one, the other question I have is whether you've actually been able to have that discussion with the Coordinative Council, with the Fort Rupert Council.
I've talked to Mark and he's talked to the council and they were all behind it when I talked to them last time. They thought it was a good idea, so.
Yeah, I just think it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to bring
Yeah.
this to them as well.
And you want us to do that?
Actually, that's a good question. We could do it, or
I reached out to the chief counselor out there and hopefully we're gonna set up a meeting fairly shortly, so. We'll bring it forward to her too, to make sure that it's recorded on their council minutes.
I think they talked about it a couple times according to Mark.
Anyway, thank you for it. I think it looks great.
Thanks, Councilor Dukas.
Yeah, I just had a question with regards to like the location next to the curling rink with regards to, and I know it's an old building, right? It's been there since what, 1967 or 66 or whatever. And it's wooden structure, if in the event bar none, if it ever did get on fire, whatever, to make sure that the distance was far enough away that that wouldn't be an issue with regards to fighting the fire or causing damage to the court at that time.
Yeah, the asphalt surface for sure
Yes.
was an issue, or the.
Didn't want it to be too close, like to make sure there was a good separation between the two.
Yeah, we can definitely look at that. I don't know if that would be.
Yeah,
fire
we could
department
spray
sort of
water
thing.
on that.
For that distance, yeah, probably.
Yeah, we
Um,
could spray, you know, we could put have a dedicated pumper to just
Yeah.
pump water onto the surface.
But I guess we looked at specifically the access and egress out of the back of that
Mhm.
emergency exit in the curling rink is how we pushed it away. And we sort of used spacing from other buildings around the area, like a 3 meter gap. So as for what a fire code would be for that, I haven't looked into it so
Yeah,
far.
okay, just something to think about for sure.
And
And the
Paul,
other,
when the Lions Hall burnt down, it didn't affect the curling
And
club.
that was fast.
It was closer.
Yeah, it's close. It was only 10 feet or so.
okay,
But I can totally get that, yeah, for sure.
because the other thing is with regards to that area that you're talking about building on, that used to be the cooling pond for the arena. So it's all fill.
Yeah.
And and that fill's been there for a long time. So with regards to the settling, I'm pretty sure it's probably settled as much as it's going to. But I don't know what the water table is there either. So that's another.
Well, they
consideration.
had to pump in there and work on tides when they were putting water through there last year or 2 years ago, so.
Yeah,
It's very shallow.
yeah.
It'll be a sand and gravel base because of the beach
Mhm.
and what's out there. It'll probably be glacial, I'm assuming as well. So it's gonna not be great. So if it is by geotech and when ARC does an exploration there, we're allowed to do test holes out there, then Geo will have to figure out how it's built underneath that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And as far as the arc goes, I know that's been all disturbed and dug up and filled and so.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's not gonna be any issues. I don't think
We
so,
hope
but you
not.
never know.
We're hoping there's not.
Yeah. Hey, great, and a great presentation. Good job, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Senator. Thank you very much. It's great presentation and that's kind of exciting that you have, a friend that did this for the community and I think it's just an excellent idea, great location, having that sort of central recreation, baseball, curling, tennis, maybe this will spike future events too if this is successful. So good job on looking at this and
Right on.
hope it works.
Yeah. so, yeah.
Council Texel?
Recreation. I love it. This is great. That was awesome. Thanks for the presentation. Like Katrina said, the location's perfect. Like your baseball field, you got the curling club there. You got the Stories Beach, everything. The more recreation we bring to town, the better for our community, better for our kids, better for everybody. It's amazing. Looking forward to see how this plays out.
Thanks.
Council Rose?
Yeah, sorry, I just hoping somewhere along the way, either the town or, as part of it, there'll be a plaque, acknowledging, Roger and his participation and,
Put something on the fence out there.
yeah, anything, I think, yeah.
I'd like to put something on the carbine also.
Who is this gentleman? Sorry?
Roger Lizzie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I just want to say thank you very much for the presentation. It was great. And having something more out in the Stories Beach, Beaver Harbor area is awesome. I want to echo, Council Robertson about having some kind of acknowledgement for Mr. Lizzie, because that's an amazing, generous, donation to the district. And we want to make sure we recognize him.
For sure.
Finally got the money.
It's all done. That's awesome.
Very cool.
So thanks very much. We'll take it,
Thanks,
it's on the agenda for a council meeting and, go from there.
Sure, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks.
guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Yes.
See you later.
Yeah.
See you later, Sandy.
All right, so moving on, to business arising from the minutes and unfinished business, our Park and Rec Art and Culture Committee action item report for November 22nd for information. Councilor Dole?
I just had a bit of a funny question, but because now we don't have Parks and Rec and Ops meetings, what about
great.
those last minutes? How will they ever get approved?
CAO Nelson Smith?
That's a very good question, actually, because then in order for us to have a meeting, in order to adopt those minutes, then we have more minutes in order to adopt those minutes. So with respect to that, if we were ever to go back, then those minutes would be put forward for adoption. At this point in time, we put the action items on here, so then they'll be part of this committee going forward, and then we'll amalgamate them all together. Similar to the finance committee meeting, so that very last finance committee meeting that we have every year is held until the next.
Right, sure. Oh, just wondered.
Good question.
Good question, yes. So anything anyone wants to bring up from the action item or action item report? Right, under Operation Services Committee Action Item Report for November 22nd from information. Any comments, questions? That's for information. Going on to item number 3, Anika Terrata. The harbor manager, Aries Security, about the Seagate Pier loading limits, 8th edition. So Anika's not here. CAO, would you like to speak to this, please?
Yeah, so this came up at operational services. So as you can tell from the memo that came in from Anika, that we have a load limit issue on the Seagate Pier, and we still have people that are driving out onto the pier. We have mitigated our liability in terms of the vehicles that we were forcing to drive out there, which included the garbage truck, and we've relocated the garbage, but we still have the issue of people still driving out onto the dock. And so we've had this discussion about a gate, and actually since this report was done with this particular gate in it, I actually went to a harbor where, because one of the concerns was that if we lock this gate, that people might feel as though they can't walk out there. We definitely don't want to limit the walking, and so this design isn't set in stone. We can still work on it, but it's to really bring it forward to council's attention that we need to do something in order to limit that. But one of the solutions that one of the other harbors had done in order to ensure that walkers still felt comfortable going out there and there was no obstruction whatsoever is the gate comes to a certain point and then it goes up and over. So there's a clear walking, somebody can walk through, a wheelchair can get through, a scooter can get through, but then it's still fixed so that vehicles can't get through. So if you had a small type vehicle, like a motorized scooter or, you know, a little motorcycle or whatever, you'd have no problem getting through there. But the actual vehicles themselves would be stopped. And then they would have to ask for access onto the wharf further in order for us to be able to provide services, which as Anika points out, there's an opportunity for some revenue there and for us to assist and us to also provide them with some equipment in order to help them get things to the end of the wharf in order to ensure that we keep the structural integrity of the dock intact. So it's still a bit of a work in progress, but at least we have a bit of a price and it's not onerous. And trying to keep in with the theme and the fact that we can't, originally, you know, my thought was just stick a bollard in, super easy, but the way that the asphalt is and the way that the dock is constructed, us putting something into the asphalt is not feasible. So we have to affix it to the actual dock itself. So that's why this is attached to the bull rails. And so we can definitely, as long as basically what we're asking for is for council to be on board for us to make a recommendation to council that would be on board in order to put something up that still allows pedestrian access, but limits the vehicle access so that we can maintain the integrity. Totally open to discussion here.
Councilor Tidbert?
I like the design. I think it'll work. Yeah, I think it will work.
In terms of adding on the components so that people can walk through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna have a few people that be grumbling for a while, but once they figure it all out then, and the procedure on how to get it open if they're under load.
And one thing I want to point out too is that our harbor authority is available almost all of the time.
Yeah.
So their phone numbers are up at the docks. We would put up on the load limit if you need access, then this is the number to call. And most of the boats that come in are boats that we are aware of. The bigger vessels, like the Coast Guard vessels and things like that, that are always looking to put some extra. So they have a really good working relationship with our harbor authority as well. So, we feel, in terms of, being able to do this, there's a great opportunity to be able to try to preserve what we have until we can put more money into the dock in order to bring out that stability and increase that load limit.
Councilor Dugas?
Just a question, and I'm not aware if this is still continuing, but at one time, they used to do a lot of fish offload on that dock years ago. Did they still do that today?
Not as
No.
much, no.
They took the crane down.
So it's basically not, don't happen anymore?
Small batch, right?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Celtic and Cole.
Myself,
Yeah.
I would, as long as it shows where people can definitely walk onto it and they can get a motorized cart or scooter in there. I think that's, Jim brought that up at one of our council meetings, that are people still allowed to walk on there? So, he was paying attention to the signs. So I think if it would make it attractive for people to still walk on there, it would be really good.
And I did read in the report that emergency services of all sorts would have key, so, that's obviously a concern, but that sounds like that's taken care of too, so, yeah, with needing to protect this very expensive asset, and it's a bit of an antique.
Yeah.
I will, recommend to council that they, approve the request to install a gate to prevent heavy vehicle access and allow pedestrian access.
Yeah, I'm glad that you
Welcome
brought that.
pedestrian
Glad that you brought that up because like if you look at all of the older pictures of Port Hardy, this is like one of the first infrastructures that we have. It was the lifeline to the community. It's how they got groceries and supplies was so it might be something maybe to think about with our OCP plan and for signage for our heritage items, that maybe to make it more of a story as you're walking down the pier, as well as learning a little bit about our history, and as you go through and seeing like the old pictures, which are kind of cool, of what it used to be like. It used to be a lot bigger, like it looked like in some of the photos. So instead of just warning like all of the other signs, right, to make it more pleasing for people to enjoy. So I think we should protect this important asset for sure, even though I did enjoy driving on it.
We all did.
So moved by Councillor Dorwood, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carrie. All right, going on to our Director of Recreation and Community Service and Director of Engineering and Operations, the analysis of the bike pump track proposal. Who would like to speak to it?
Okay, so this report it's a joint report that is in response to our November 16th, 2022 delegation to the Parks, Recreation, Arts and Culture Committee, and to propose the construction of a bike pump track free of charge to the residents of Port Hardy. The presentation covered the benefits of this initiative and that such an endeavor would be an investment to the community. Although no location was proposed, it was stated that the track could be used by skateboarders and scooters. As a comparable, the delegation presented information from the town of New Royal Bike Skills Park with a total cost of construction at $185,318.03. And an annual operational maintenance cost of $2,500 with a 2% annual CPI. The sources of funding, so in doing our analysis, the sources of funding used by Bureau to design and construct the track was casino revenue, and annual upkeep was covered by taxes. So in our analysis, without confirmed funding sources in place, at this time it's difficult to justify the substantial design and construction costs without that significant increase in taxes. Port Hardy we don't have a tax base as View Royal does, and so to warrant such an increase would be a substantial increase. And just a comparison, View Royal's population in 2016 was 10,408. That's more than double of Port Hardy's current population. The district has an extensive park infrastructure of aging playgrounds and walking trails and tennis courts and skateboard park. And currently operating funds are needed to maintain park assets. So adding more new projects would increase the burden on the Parks Division operating budget to maintain existing assets. From a recreational standpoint, we have our pool renovations well underway right now, and the startup will be the focal for my staff for 2023. So that puts a significant increase in community programming that has to be received by Port Hardy residents and the North Island communities in order to warrant this initiative. So without other demands for a bike track pump at this time, the recommendation is to propose that we put this on hold while we focus on pool renovations, and that sources of funding in the future we explore.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Tidbury?
I've seen this track, it's awesome. And lots of people on it too.
Councilor Robertson?
Just a technical issue. I saw the report, I read the report, before, but now when I go up to try and get into the report, I apparently do not have permission to view.
You and me both.
Yeah, me too.
Same thing, I'm like, why?
Me too.
Again, because I read it, part of the agenda.
Yeah, no,
Trying to
I know
figure
I've
that
read
out.
the report before.
I logged in and still didn't.
Yeah, me too. It says you don't have permission, same thing.
Anyway, I just, you know what, thanks Tanya for the report, I appreciate the presentation that Tammy made, I think it would be a good addition. But, when 1% of our tax, 1% raise in tax equals $30,000, that would be just for one project, a 6% increase in taxes, and that would be a challenge for one project. Doesn't mean that we won't do it, but it doesn't mean we won't continue to pursue funding sources for it. But I think to raise taxes for it would be a challenge, especially as we're finishing some other projects. Anyway, thanks, Dan.
Okay. So moving on to new business, the Great Canadian Fire Census 2022 results and call to action for discussion. Any comments? Councilor Dukas?
I was waiting for John.
I was too,
I
actually.
just can't believe he's not talking about it.
Well, what's that one about?
Oh, come on, John, it's a fire one.
It was pretty interesting.
It was
That's,
very
looking at, I don't know if everybody can get into it still,
Yeah.
but, just looking at the percentages and the, concerns. So, John, did you have anything you wanted to talk about it, or?
No.
And it,
Oh, I've got it now. Okay, so,
and it was for discussion.
Yeah.
And,
It's just like from some of the recommendations there, some of the items, and I can't just pick it out right now, but I will
yeah,
definitely do that later. Some of the things in there were sort of like interesting that maybe, as a resolution to go to AVICC, something with
Yeah.
regards to support of our fire. But I can't put it in wording at this particular time, but there was something I read in there that sounded like, yeah, this would be a good thing to go to AVICC, because it's definitely something that we should be obviously supporting, and everybody in the province, especially your small rural communities, has got the same issue. So I will do my homework a little bit better. I was gonna write it down, I didn't, but
and some of
I think it had to do with the Fire Smart training principle and homes, that kind of an idea. And you could get funding for that, and but it needs to be more supported by the province with regard to small rural communities.
not just the province, but the, federal. too.
yeah,
They
we,
refer to the
Yeah.
federal, government as well, and in the report and in the recommendations.
we do bring this up, constantly at the UBCM, and
Yeah.
and our own local.
Mhm.
Councilor Smith?
Just out of curiosity, do our volunteer firefighters get a tax credit for their service? That's
Yes.
an hour? Okay, good. I just-
Yeah. Anybody over 200 hours, or is it 250? I can't remember.
Mhm.
Is it substantial? Like, does it help?
Anything helps.
They do.
It's not-
Increasing the
That's, which I think is great, like
Yeah.
reading that recommendation that I hope that does go through, you know, 'cause
Yeah, any member that's got 200 and, I'm sure it's 250 hours, they'll get a letter from, the fire chief saying they've done that a number of hours.
So we, sorry. Councilor Dorr?
Is there? I'd like to hear more from the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. Would it be possible for them to zoom into a meeting and maybe, like, there's just a lot of stuff here.
Mhm.
There is.
And like, what can our community, you know, kind of look at piecing off of this or pushing? Like, what really would make the biggest difference that we might be able to influence? Sort of, so I wonder if we could have them be a delegation.
What do you think?
We could invite them anyway, and they'll come or not.
We can invite them for sure, yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
If everybody's.
And I also think, I mean, that we're running out of time to getting, to ABICC a resolution.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean we couldn't put in a late resolution if there was something to do. Dale Nelson Smith, did you have something?
I was just gonna answer the previous question, so it's 200 hours and it's $1,000 tax deduction.
There you go.
$5 an hour, doesn't sound like.
Big bucks. That's why we're in there, for those big bucks.
Oh, I know you're not. Hmm.
Okay, so we'll, recommendation to see if we can get a delegation and everybody will pour over that report to see if we want to put in a late resolution.
Mhm.
Something under that.
On to staff reports, the Port Hardy Harbor Authority for December 2022 monthly report for information. Councilor Dorwood?
I'm just more curious than anything, but what was the large amount of vessels adrift? Or something like that.
Well, I saw it, see that.
Multiple vessels adrift.
That was out in the bay,
So,
If it's public, I don't know.
well, it also goes with the weather as well, right? So we had some king tides and of course, you know, in the winter, things freeze and bilge pumps stop, you know, kind of doing their thing. So we also had some sinkings. And then, you know, when you're dealing with people that are also, you know, coming in for safe harbor while they're trying to get out of the weather. So yeah, typically during this time of year, you would see a lot more activity.
So it was just weather related. It wasn't a failure of the securing systems at the docks. or
Oh,
anything?
no.
Okay.
And if we have like major winds and things like that, then they will get dislodged as well, so that will also contribute, quite drastically too, so. We do rely on the vessel owners to, secure their vessels on a regular basis, but we do have some vessels that the owners only come once a year, and so, you know, things get loose, or mischievous people unwrap things, and
Lots of stuff. That's good. Thank you.
just anecdotally, on social media, a friend posted, whose boat is this that's sinking? And within half an hour, the owner was down there and making sure it didn't sink.
Oh, benefit to social media.
Yeah, one of the benefits.
One of them.
Nicely done, Ron.
Under, so Port Hardy Water Treatment Plant, November 2022 month report for information. Any comments, questions? Councilor Dugas?
I'm just making a comment with regards to, the success that, our departments had with regards to reducing the amount of volume of the water that's actually being treated. I think that, that public relations and having that sign out front that we have on the roads, I think it's definitely made a difference with regards to what people think when they're thinking about using water and how important it is in the community. So kudos goes out to, and I know that those those numbers jump up, specifically in the winter months, as you could see. But that's just normal for us up here because a lot of people don't, unfortunately, insulate their lines or whatever. And unfortunately, some of the businesses find out that they could have done a little bit better job because when it thaws out, it leaks and then there's excess water being used. But if you look at the pattern through the summer months and through the spring, it's pretty low. It's awesome. Looks great. So great job, Cam, you and your crew doing that. That's awesome.
So on to the Port Hardy Water Treatment Plant, December 2022 monthly report for information. Comments, questions? Being not easy so far.
There you go.
The Sequati Wastewater Treatment Plant, quarter number 3 report for information. Any comments, questions? Airport Wastewater Treatment Plant, quarter number 3. Oh, airport, yeah, quarter number 3 report for information. Questions, comments? And then Cam So, Director of Engineering and Operations, December 2022, January 2023, monthly reports for information.
I just have one comment, and I thank Councillor Smith for pointing it out, but I did upload the wrong, it's not the wrong report, but the edited version of the report with the proper years being 2022 to 2023.
Perfect, thank you.
Should have been uploaded with my signature, and I chose the Word version and not the PDF, so my.
Okay, thank you. So that was Councillor Dorwood speaking right to that?
No,
No?
this is fine.
Councillor Smith.
Councillor Smith. And Tanya Call, Director of Recreation and Community Services, the monthly report to information. Comments? Councillor Dorwood?
Can't say it enough times. Wow. Like, just fabulous, really. Don't mean to sound like a broken record, but from every direction, what a great success our recreation department is, so.
And the stats, the comparison of
Yeah,
the 2 years is.
The community support,
Cool
the
stats.
attendance,
Cool.
Everybody's talking
positive
about it.
reviews, yeah.
If you're not aware, everybody's talking about, you guys doing a good job at the recreation department. I hear it from everybody that all the programs that are going on, everything, all the work with the public skates, all that stuff, it does pay off. So when you're grinding, know that people appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's only one negative comment I ever, and it will be resolved by possibly the end of March and April. Cool.
So I'm thinking more this summer, let's be a little bit tough for the summer.
Yeah.
But come March, April, hopefully we'll be training lifeguards in Port McNeil when they open their pool and,
They're gonna open it in March.
or sorry,
When?
it opens May, that's,
I think that's gonna be chilly.
yeah, I know. Or people will be going down to Campbell River.
That's right.
So any other comments, about the recreation?
Excellent.
Did a great job. Great job. Looking forward to the pool. You'll have way more work to do, unfortunately, but hey, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
If I can just comment.
Yes, please.
That's, we had such an overwhelming contribution to our sponsors' gates this year, as you can see from the chart there. And we had a spillover into January, so we already have secured a sponsor for our Winter Wonderland 2023. Celtic Seafoods, $765.
Yeah, I see
So
that.
that's going to allow us to provide that, to offer that event free of charge. With a caveat that we have to maintain the masses.
Mhm.
We had 260 people at the Winter Wonderland. We're gonna have to, we will still have to implement a registration system that'll be free of charge. And we're hoping to do the same thing with our New Year's Eve event. That was such a success with the balloon drop. And we already have a sponsor who has stepped forward and said that they would be willing to sponsor that one as well. So fingers crossed, and we'll have 2 sponsored free events. Yeah, with registration systems in place.
So, and I did hear, and I think I mentioned to you about some of the sponsors said if you had asked me for more money, so no one would have to pay, I would have paid more.
Mhm.
And I just thought, oh, Interesting. But I think just listing these and then when I saw the anonymous donor or anonymous resident, I thought, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool, yeah. And we're starting to think creatively, like, you know, outside the box. So what can businesses and individuals sponsor outside of our Christmas and ice events? Or could they sponsor a community excursion, for instance, or a bouncy castle for a camp, or maybe some equipment? So we're gonna be putting together some Q&A ideas in our spring guide, and we'll see what the response is like. We really have that support now from the community and the momentum, and I think we should start reaching out and thinking outside the box, so.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Oh, let's,
Well, I found out yesterday at the finance committee that I shortchanged my department by almost $20,000. So I'm gonna vote on that. So apparently the revenue that's sitting in Booking, which is our software, recreation software program, is reporting higher than what's reported in Maze right now. So as Heather mentioned, we're closer to $95,000 in revenue from recreation revenue programming. So that is a phenomenal amount. Yeah, I always have this, the pulse on how great my team is, but when you put it in writing and you see those numbers, it just solidifies, you know, that we're doing something, like we're doing the right things, and that the team is really behind this, and it's really exciting to see that reward back. So thank you for your support, and thanks to the community.
I also wanted to thank you for all the outreach that you're doing on getting grants, the recreation grants and other ones. Got new weights in for exercise class, and I was encouraged to go to heavier weight. Okay. So, just the different things that are going on, it's really great. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Councilor Wood.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, so we have 45 minutes.
Wow, there's a surprise.
There's no. Well,
Could have done it, had some.
I'm
wow.
gonna stop recording.
So what I do